is the Max Kellerman Show. Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio.
The Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, the ESPN app, and Sirius XM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker. What's going on, nerds? Merry Christmas. Christmas Eve coming right up. Look at this. Max Claus, Santa Max. I don't know. I don't have any kind of pithy, but it is. Listen, let me tell you something. This NBA season, can we just start the NBA on Christmas Day? Like, that should always be the start of the NBA season. Why not? Well, they go up against the NFL. So what, more sports? I'm supposed to say, no, I don't want that? Of course I want that. We have a new beast of the East. You see yesterday's game? A team that, all the analytics guys were coming out with projections and picking this team as the second most likely out of the East to make the finals. I'm like, what? But I think the projections may have been right. Going to get into that in a second. You can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776, The Max Kellerman Show, presented by Progressive Insurance. Told you don't sleep on the new-look Suns. And they weren't even the most impressive team in that game. And they won. Be a part of Max Kellerman Nation on the Dr. Pepper call-in line, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. ESPN Nation's presented by Dr. Pepper. It is official. College football's been back. And so is your favorite Dr. Pepper-loving college football town, Fansville. Head to a store near you to treat your inner college football fan to an ice-cold 20-ounce Dr. Pepper today. But first, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Are the Celtics the new beast of the East? Giannis had 18 in the fourth quarter during that comeback of Wednesday night's season opener, last night's season opener against the Celtics at TD Garden. But the two-time most valuable player, he's the reigning and defending consecutive MVP of the NBA, at least in the regular season, wasn't thinking about that after the game. He was thinking about the point he didn't score because he hits that free throw, they go into overtime. By the way, I felt that he should not have been on the line. I thought that was a goaltend. And therefore, the point should have counted, and they should have already been in overtime, right? But they weren't. He had to ice the free throws, and he missed. He said after the game, because he missed the second free throw with 0.4 seconds remaining, would have put him in OT, I'm upset about it. Finished with 35 and 13 in 36 minutes, by the way. Last year, Giannis, I'm rounding up, and I'm doing it off the top of my head, but I think it was 30, 13, and 6 with a block and a steal a game or something like that. By the way, in 30 minutes a game, 35 and 13 in 36 minutes last night, his first game since signing his 5-year Supermax contract with Milwaukee earlier this month. But you can't change it, so it's done. Hopefully, when I'm in the same position, I can make the next one. That's the mentality you've got to have. I'm a winner. And I want to do whatever it takes for my team to win. But, you learn from every situation that basketball puts you in. What happened on that final sequence on the missed free throws? Giannis, let's hear you say the things I just said.
And then I told you, just throw the ball high. Throw it high and try to go get it. We have 0.4 seconds. Just if you don't see if Chris is not wide open, if Dante's not wide open, I think, no, not that. Pat's not wide open. Just throw the ball high and try to go get it. Probably made the first one, missed the second one. That was it.
That was it. By the way, Tatum hit the game-winning shot. It's not like he called glass. Stop it. A nice step back. Tatum is a dangerous offensive player. But they were a little lucky, the Celtics, to win that game. And they had a big lead, and the Bucks came back on them. But the story of the game was actually the Celtics. That's the headline from the game. And who on the Celtics was the headline? Jaylen Brown. Because Jaylen Brown, it turns out, may be just about as good as Jason Tatum. And the truth is, that's been the case for a couple of years, but we all saw in Tatum more upside. We saw a more polished overall offensive game. And so we thought, yeah, they're 1A and 1B, but Tatum's going to start to put distance between himself and Jaylen. That has not happened. It's not because Tatum hasn't developed. He has. Jaylen Brown's just that good. Boy, he is. Perkins was talking about it on First Take today. When you talk about the elite two-way wings in the NBA, where's Jaylen Brown fit in? Now you think about, the team totally differently. No Kemba for a while this season, and when he comes back, who knows what you have. No Gordon Hayward, right? But you bring in Tristan Thompson, some size, can play. Marcus Smart is a beast when it counts, especially. And the main thing is you have two wings who are elite, right? If Jaylen Brown keeps this up, yeah, the Celtics are deep. Tice or Tice, or however you're supposed to say his name. Pronounce all these German names. Maxi Kleber is somehow Kleba. and I should know how to pronounce it better because I speak some Yiddish, so I should understand. But Tice, okay, whatever you say. I don't know if it was spelled T-I-C-E. In America, I would get Tice, but it's spelled Theus, but it's called Tice. Okay. But he's good. By the way, the Celtics have above average minimum at every position, and they have depth, and they have coaching. They're really, really good. They were lucky to beat the Bucks last night. Let's be honest. They were lucky to beat them. They were lucky to hit the game winner. They were lucky. And by the way, they built a big lead. Giannis went nuts. There was nothing they could do. They got lucky on Tatum's shot. They got lucky on the non-goaltend call that should have been a goaltend, I guess because they called the foul before that. And they got lucky that Giannis missed the free throw and that they didn't get the rebound, right? A lot of luck for the Celtics to barely beat the Bucks. But the East is a beast nowadays, period. The Bucks, the Celtics, the Sixers. Did you see, by the way, that was Straight Talk Wireless, everything for less, only at Walmart. Did you see this dude, Tyrese Maxey? How many minutes did he play last night for the Sixers? Because he was picked in 20-something. He should have been a lottery pick, no doubt. He didn't even play that much. But this dude is a baller, a baller. By the way, bad for James Harden, because if I'm the Nets, I'm not sacrificing that depth for James Harden. When I have unselfish players who can go get their own shot like Dinwiddie or Karis LeVert, but are willing to either come off the bench or not over-dribble and give up the ball for the two superstars, I'm not messing with that for James Harden, who doesn't have chemistry with Chris Paul, doesn't have, gets his own guy in there and Westbrook, his boy, and they don't have chemistry on court, even his boy. And now he wants out, and he's 32 years old, and he's a ball stopper. I don't want that if I'm the Nets. And if I'm the Sixers, I'm not giving up Ben Simmons after the way I saw KD play. I need a defense on KD. Who else can defend him? No one's going to really stop him one-on-one. But the best dude available is going to be Ben Simmons. I'm not giving that up if that's the team I have to face. You see when they surrounded Embiid with shooters, by the way, and played 5 out? Or at least Embiid, running kind of like point center. Ooh, that's tough. But this dude, Maxey, is a baller. And Shake Milton is showing you that last year was not a fluke. He can actually ball. Sixers are going to be a problem. And by the way, yeah, look, Seth Curry stunk, and Danny Green's old. He doesn't move on defense the way he used to. But Danny Green, if he has the worst year of his career, what's he going to shoot, 35% from 3? And at least have a physical presence on defense? And Seth Curry and Danny Green ain't missing all their threes all year, folks. That ain't happening. They're going to hit a lot of threes. And they didn't hit any last night, basically. And the Sixers still look pretty good. Sixers are going to be a problem. The East is good. By the way, I just mentioned the Bucks, the Celtics, and the Sixers. The Nets are getting out of the East, right? That's 4 right there. I haven't even mentioned the Eastern Conference champions. None of the Western Conference teams won more than a game from the Lakers in the playoffs. The Heat won 2. Well, because they don't really have a Giannis or a KD level player. Yeah, that's true, but Jimmy Butler's awful good. And Tyler Hero is an ascending star. And they got dudes who can shoot the lights out, like Duncan Robinson. And Bam Adebayo is a top big in the East, like a top 3 in the East. They are really, really good. So what's that now? I'm up to 6. Is the Western Conference even better than the Eastern Conference? I don't think so anymore. I'm not sure. The Lakers are the best team in basketball. But I don't like this. The Nets might give them some run. And then when you go down the list, the Clippers, the Nuggets in the West, now the Rockets ain't going to be anything. By the way, the Wizards are better than they were, right? Westbrook with a triple-double and Bradley Beal killing them. It's one of the best, arguably the best backcourt in basketball. I'm going to get to the best backcourt in basketball in a second. It's the second best backcourt in basketball. The best backcourt in basketball we also saw in action in the late game on ESPN last night. That's Chris Paul. I'm just making sure my mic is still on. The best backcourt in basketball is Chris Paul and Devin Booker. These are three-level scorers at all-star level. One of them a mastermind offense kind of coordinator and orchestrator in Chris Paul, and one of them like a little mini Kobe Bryant, the way he can score from anywhere in Devin Booker. And then they have perfect complementary 3-and-D guys who do both things at an extraordinarily high level in Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges. And then they have a guy in DeAndre Ayton, who's the number 1 overall pick, who is already a better than average NBA player and has a lot of room for improvement. And he's the biggest question mark. And you got Jay Crowder off the bench. Like, the Suns are really good, and I wasn't even most impressed by them. I got to get into the Dallas Mavericks in a little while. Right now, Damien Woody joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. Wood.
Max, what's up, brother?
What's going on, man? Let me just set the stage for Damien Woody. Damien Woody has a gang of kids, and they're all high-achieving, academics, and got some in college here and there, and they're all home, right, because of COVID and because of the vacation. You got a big, happy family there. And Damien Woody used to show up on First Take when the pandemic hit, and he's broadcasting from his house, as we all are, and he looked like Scarface with the 2 columns behind him, an elaborate mansion wherever you are. Damien, you made a lot of money in the NFL. God bless you. And you're like the king of the castle. And little by little, your family started pushing you as the kids are all home, started pushing you further and further into the corners of your house. And then today on First Take, you were all the way in the corner with a little Christmas tree behind you, and the Wi-Fi stopped working because all the kids are on TikTok and on Zoom meetings with their friends and stuff, Zoom parties. And Damien, don't you tell the kids, like, Daddy has to be on TV? You got to leave me some bandwidth. Like, how does that conversation go?
Well, I thought I was good because it's here it is, Christmas Eve. Everybody's probably sleeping in and all those type of things. But lo and behold, with the whole social media, everybody's like on every social media. So you know what, Max? It happened.
How many kids you got, Damien?
You know how many I have? I have 7.
7 kids. Are they all on social media?
Most of them are. I would say all.
Because I seen you doing TikTok dances on your daughter's TikTok.
We're going to do another one this evening, so everybody be on the lookout for that.
Okay, Damien Woody and his daughter doing a TikTok dance on TikTok tonight. We release it tonight, the hot new TikTok dance. Damien, let me get to Haskins. He's no longer a captain with the Washington football team. He messed up, partying, no mask, the whole thing. But let me give you my take on that quick, and I want you to react and tell me what you think. It was stupid for him to do. More is expected of franchise quarterbacks, right? And he was drafted in a position that tells you they want him to be that. When I was 23 years old, I did a lot of stupid things too. This is not the biggest crime in the world. It's just a stupid kind of 23-year-old mistake. I don't see this as like, well, that shows you he's a bad apple. And I'll tell you something else. Dwayne Haskins is not one of these fleet-footed quarterbacks who can hit the ground running literally and figuratively in his first season like we see nowadays, when everyone wants him to be all-pro by their second year. He's much more like an old-school quarterback. He's kind of mobile, but he ain't a runner. And he has a strong arm, but it's not a howitzer. And he's going to be a guy like in the old days. It used to take 2-3 years for that guy to develop into a solid starter. I think Haskins can still do that. So far, you have to say he's a first-round bust, but I wouldn't say that's the end of the story. I would still think he can develop. Where are you on Dwayne Haskins?
Well, listen, I don't want to keep beating the drum, but what he did was definitely stupid. I understand, at 23, and we've all been there. We've done a lot of dumb things. But you got to understand, you're the face of the franchise, and I know he's taking over for injured Alex Smith, but he was a guy that was handpicked basically by Dan Snyder. He was Dan Snyder, the owner's draft pick. He's from that area. He's from the Maryland area. And so there's always going to be a lot of eyes on him. And this is not the first time that he's, made a mistake like this season. He had a situation where he tried to sneak someone into the team hotel. He apologized for that, and then he comes right back and does something stupid again. So, listen, he's not.
Damien, can we just talk about that for a second, though? Can we talk about that for 1 second? You're right. It's stupid. I'm not making excuses. But by way of explanation, he is 23 years old. He's an NFL first-round pick. He's making money. He's a young guy. If he ain't married, what's he supposed to do about that whole thing? At some point, you're going to socialize.
Max, you got to listen. I get it. We were all that age. I get it. You're young. You got a lot of money in your pocket. I get it. But at the same time, you got to understand the circumstances. This is a franchise that's going in a different direction. You got Ron Rivera. He's not your guy. Dwayne Haskins knows that Ron Rivera didn't pick him. He's not his guy. Mm-hmm. So you got to be on your P's and Q's. You can't do anything that's not going to ingratiate yourself with the head coach, because ultimately he's making all the decisions within that organization. And so,
or pretty soon, if you keep making those decisions, then the one you try to sneak in says, what am I doing here? I'm going to go see Daniel Jones. I'm going to go see one of the first-round picks is panning out.
But
seriously.
Listen, it's a situation where I don't think Dwayne Haskins is going to be there after this year. I think they're going to try to trade, or they're going to move on from Dwayne Haskins this year. Do I think he'll have a chance somewhere else? Maybe. There's no question. He only started one full season at Ohio State, and it was a very good one, but he didn't have that many snaps, before his pro career. So
that's what I mean. That's why I give him a longer leash, because one season as a starter in college, showed a lot of improvement throughout the course of that season. Not a prototypical modern quarterback, much more like a throwback where it used to take 2-3 years to develop into a solid starter. So I hear everything you're saying. I'm just saying Haskins is the kind of guy who may be written off by the league and pop up again later on as a guy coming off the bench who has a chance to start and wind up winning a starting job. I wouldn't be surprised. Meantime, Juju Smith-Schuster is going to stop his pregame dances on opposing teams' logos. Now, I was watching Get Up the other morning, and Mike Greenberg said the reason his son, who's 18, likes Juju Smith-Schuster is because of these TikTok dances. Damien, do your kids, are they aware of Juju through TikTok? Is his profile actually being raised by that stuff, or was it raised?
Yes. I have 3 daughters that follow him on TikTok. They are aware of the things that Juju Smith-Schuster does on TikTok. And so when I told them about, he's not going to be doing the whole dancing on the, in the, midfield at stadiums, they were kind of shocked. They was like, that's who he is. Why would people hate on him for him being Juju Smith-Schuster? And I tend to
know what the answer is? You know what the answer is?
I'm listening.
This is what you need to tell your daughters. Because Ben Roethlisberger can't throw it down the field anymore. Juju's got to stop dancing. That's the reason they won't see him on TikTok doing that is because Roethlisberger can't throw the ball down the field. They're not getting run blocking. They have a predictable play call kind of pattern on their offense. And so they're already playing up for the run because they know there's not a deep vertical passing threat. They can't block for the run anyway, so there's no run game, and it's starting to go backwards on them. That's why if they had a quarterback who could get it down the field, Damien, Juju'd still be dancing because they wouldn't be losing every game.
Well, listen, my feeling is I want you to be who you are. Once you start changing and doing things that's not reflective of who you are, it changes you as a player. And everyone that's talking about, well, he danced, on the midfield on the Bengals emblem, and that was this reason why they lost. That's a bunch of baloney. I don't know any player. You ask any player, when you get to actually game time, when you start playing these games, you're not thinking about bulletin board materials. You're not thinking about videos from TikTok. You're just trying to win a football game. So this whole notion that Juju was dancing just led to somehow the Pittsburgh Steelers losing a game, it's a bunch of crap, to be honest with you.
Damien, do your kids get you Christmas gifts? Like, do you also open gifts from your kids, or are you just getting them the gifts still?
No, they give me stuff, but they always say, Dad, we don't really know what to get you because you can go get whatever you want. So, but they give me like sentimental stuff.
That's my kid's excuse
too. I smile and feed into it, but they always say, Dad, we don't know what to give you.
Yeah, my girls do the same thing, except then I notice they make everyone else. They make them a painting, a picture, a thing. I'm like, oh, make me one of those. It'd be nice. I mean, it's Hanukkah's already over, but still, I'll take one on Christmas this year if I get a gift for one of these kids. The great Damien Woody. Go ahead, Damien. I know you got things to do, and Raj is ushering you off already because he's incredibly
now, Max. I got to fulfill my duties here.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, does your wife do it up on Christmas too? I know she does it up on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, like just as big.
Yeah. Well, listen. Damien Woody, he didn't get to be 300 pounds just by accident. Let's put it that way. He's eating good. The great Damien Woody, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, you know this dude maxed out on the bench over 500 pounds? 500 pounds on a bench press. That's such a great headline for Harden. James and the Giant Breach. Well, you got to give it to those headline writers for the tabloids. Post in particular. The Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, the ESPN app, SiriusXM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker. What's going on with Harden and the Rockets? You're going to hear from Woj in a second. Would this count as a Woj bomb? Even if it's not a Woj bomb, it's some Woj ammo. Dude's a one-man industry. You can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Woj, what's happening behind closed doors with Houston and James Harden?
Well, listen, they hope that they could just start the season with Harden on the floor, with John Wall, get off to a good start, and hope that it gave them some leverage in trade talks. And now they have a team tonight now unable to put a team on the floor. And I think certainly, at least for this very near term, I think it puts the James Harden trade talks on the back burner. They've got to work through this and see what exactly his immediate future is with the team, or perhaps away from the team if there's a punishment or he's got to go back into a quarantine situation.
Now, Woj is talking reality. I just question the strategy of the Rockets. I don't think it's good strategy. I've said this on the show before. You have to do this the way you try to get a best deal from a car dealership. You need to let everyone know, we're not negotiating. I'm not coming back. I have this offer. Will you top that? Because that will draw the process out. Teams will bide their time and think, well, if anyone ups the market, I'll respond to that, and let's get the most accurate market read on what's going on. The problem is, the more time passes, the more Harden's value is lessened. The more he's devalued through his antics, or just by his age, right? Because after this year, if you pick him up at the end of this year, toward the end of this year, trade deadline, you don't have a lot of time left with him. You have the rest of this season. Who knows how he gels with the team? You're really looking at next year. That's 1 year of Harden. What are you willing to give up for him? Less than for 2 years. So every day the value goes down. So the way you get the best value that you're ever going to get for him is not by finding exactly what his market value is through bidding. What you do is you tell everyone, we're trading Harden by this date. Come with your best and final right now. We're not negotiating. We're just going to take the offer we like the best. You'll get the best deal you're going to get for Harden, and you move on. Because you will move on from Harden if you're the Rockets. You're delusional if you think you won't. Fined 50 G's, by the way, after violating the NBA protocol. They made the announcement, the NBA did, that after reviewing the video of Harden partying maskless at a club, he violated the league's health and safety protocols, which, among other things, prohibit attending indoor social gatherings of 15 or more people or entering bars, lounges, clubs, or similar establishments. The league specified that Harden, quote, attended a private indoor party on Monday. Harden was has tested negative for COVID-19 Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, a league source told our very own ESPN's Ramona Shelburne. The Rockets are awaiting word from the NBA's medical staff to determine how long of a quarantine will be required before he's cleared to return to the team. He'd forfeit $572,985, doesn't say how many cents, in salary for each missed game due to the violation. It's a lot of money. Look, James Harden, after watching the Nets and the Sixers, I don't think he's a match for either team. I wouldn't trade for him if I was either team. I love some of these young players on the Sixers. Tyrese Maxey and by the way, you know who wasn't getting any burn? Thibault. Thibault could defend, really defend. And Shake Milton and everything, and you're like, yeah, come on, but you can find guys like that, although Maxey might have a real future. He should have been a lottery pick based on what I saw last night. But he didn't even play that much, but he's really good. It's not so much just that, well, Harden is this like valuable commodity, and the other guys are kind of fungible. You can find guys like that. It's that the other guys are on the Sixers now and provide them with the kind of depth, shooting, and playmaking ability and defense, depending on who you're talking about on that Sixers roster, that really make them a deep and interesting team, especially well, like Seth Curry and Danny Green missed every shot last night, basically. It ain't going to happen all year. It's never going to happen again, probably. Those guys can shoot. And Embiid looked great when he needed to turn it on. And the Nets, too. The Nets look really good. I wouldn't give up Karis LeVert and Dinwiddie and Allen and all these guys for a guy who can potentially wreck your chemistry and is going to stop the ball. Now, they got to trade him soon. Listen, let me tell you my big takeaway from yesterday watching the NBA. Great to have it back. That late game, the Mavs versus the Suns, I was really looking forward to. It's a shame Porzingis didn't play, but understand, as good as the Suns looked, and they looked really good. And when you think about, okay, forget about the starting five for a second. Really, when you think about a team, you usually think about 6 players, the starters plus your 6th man, right? And then 7, 8, and 9, like those rotation pieces are important. But when you're really thinking about, when you're matching teams up, you're usually thinking about how's the starting five and who's the number one guy off the bench. Well, Chris Paul, you can barely do better in the history of basketball than Chris Paul at point guard. You can do better, but not much. And Devin Booker is an all-around great scorer. And both Paul and Booker can score from anywhere. And then when you have 2 ball-dominant guys like that who can play on and off the ball really well, because both can, what you're really looking for in terms of rounding out the rotation, the starting 5, is you want 3-and-D guys. And you want those 3-and-D guys not just to be in name, but in deed, like really operate on a high level. And Mikal Bridges and Cam, what's Cam's last name? Johnson? No, I'm forgetting already. Anyway, the point is they're both really good 3-and-D guys, like really good. And of course, the number 1 pick, DeAndre Ayton. With Chris Paul there, you expect him to get, and a guy like Jay Crowder. The Suns. Like, do I think the Suns are going to win the chip? No. What's their ceiling? Western Conference Finals? Suns could make it to the Western Conference Finals. It's not impossible. They're one of 5 or 6 teams that might. The Lakers are going to be there. And then it's either going to be the Clippers or the Trailblazers or the Nuggets or the Mavs or the Suns. The Suns, they have a shot. I didn't even bring up Utah. And Utah, I don't know. I don't like them as much as some of the other teams I just mentioned, but they're good. It's let alone if the Pelicans take the next step. Like, what if Zion becomes MVP caliber this year? I don't know why he was like, Zion wasn't just like a normal all-star last year. He was like, whoa, that dude is awesome. And he's just learning the NBA. Yeah, the Suns are one of those kinds of teams. And let me tell you, I was not most impressed by them. I was more impressed by the team that lost. And let me tell you why. Well, they didn't have Porzingis. That's right, their second best player. They didn't have him. And yet, they were competitive. But do you know why they were competitive? Well, they have Luka Doncic. Yes, they do. And Tim Hardaway Jr. is a real good guy, also kind of like a name brand guy who put up points on a bad team and was a little overrated early in his career. But he's good. He's actually good now. A two-way player. And then talk about 3-and-D guys, Maxi Kleber and Dorian Finney-Smith, real 3-and-D guys with size in the front court. And then Porzingis, when he's healthy, I think Porzingis, let's put it this way. I think Porzingis could win an MVP in his career if he stays healthy. He's one of those guys that could do it. He's a defensive game transformer. The other offense does not operate the same way when he's on the floor. And offensively, he hasn't even gotten all the way there yet, and he's already awesome. Think about him in the bubble. How many players played better than him in the playoffs? Very few. In the whole NBA. The reason they can play that way against a team like the Suns was very good and well coached. The Mavs can, even without Porzingis. It's not just Doncic. Doncic didn't play great last night, I didn't think. I saw him try to do a step-back three like he's James Harden instead of like he had an open lane. Just, score the ball. The real issue is the Dallas Mavericks are exceptionally well coached, especially on offense. You know how you know? When you see a team, a busted play, right, or something's being stopped from the play they're trying to run is being stopped by the defense. The Suns are playing good, active defense. What is their answer? Can they answer again and again and again and again? The Mavs offense has an answer for whatever your defense does. Now, the shots weren't always falling, but they were good shots. The spacing was excellent. Everyone knew where they needed to be and got there. Everyone was constantly on offense where they needed to be, no matter what the defense did. When Porzingis gets back, you know what that means? They're really a sleeper. I don't know if I like anyone in the West, other than the Lakers, more than I like Dallas. And they lost last night. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, with insurance for cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and commercial vehicles at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Merry Christmas Eve, everyone. Got a question for me? Axe Max next. The NBA is on ESPN Radio. You don't have to miss a thing. Tune in tomorrow for a Christmas Day doubleheader. Oh, I got to actually run errands, believe it or not, right? I got to drive to this relative's house because they're one of the few people that we've actually are made from natural gas. It gives you unbeatable engine protection. The proof is in the Pennzoil based on Sequence 4A wear test using SAE 5W30.
Axe Max.
All right. Dr. Pepper call in line, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Frank in Florida, you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
Hey,
what you want to ask me?
Hey, Merry Christmas, man. Hey, I was just wondering, it's
Merry Christmas to you.
early in the NBA season, but do you think the Lakers are going to need one more scorer or someone else to repeat the championship this year?
No, and in fact, they have the scorer. His name is Jaylen Horton Tucker. That dude can score the rock. And Kyle Kuzma just re-signed, and, Kuzma, I don't believe in Kuzma, I got to be honest. But the Lakers apparently do, and LeBron apparently does. And we have seen Kuzma be a good scorer on a bad team. If he can become even a decent scorer on a great team, that's a whole lot of problems, man. Like, think about the Lakers for a second. LeBron James is your point guard, right? And he can guard multiple positions. He's your point guard. And AD really is your center, right? Now, who else can you put in there in that rotation? When you look at that team, like Jaylen Horton Tucker, that's your sixth man to me. Alex Caruso can really play. Wes Matthews is a legit 3-and-D NBA player still, and they got him on the cheap. Marc Gasol can stretch the floor and still defend, certainly for chunks of time. He's not a starting all-star caliber center anymore, but he can give you some of the defense, if not the activity that Dwight gave you, but with shooting ability. They've done a great job. They really have. And Montrezl Harrell, a really energetic power forward. KCP was not good in the regular season, and I always feel like KCP is a guy who he has a very well-rounded game offensively, but none of the facets of his game are pitched quite high enough to start, So he's like a good bench player. But in the playoffs, he stepped up. You know what I say about playoffs? That's really, high IQ time. That's when the plays matter. And then Schroeder. Like, you lost playoff Rondo, that's true, but Schroeder is younger and more athletic, and he's coming off the best season of his career. No, I don't think the Lakers need any more scoring. I think they're fine. Andre in Massachusetts, you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
What's going on, Max? Happy holidays. What I wanted to ask you is, how do you feel about the end of the Eastern Conference and the return to parity in the NBA? You talked about it. The top of the East is much better in terms of Philly, Boston, Milwaukee, and Miami, and we know that Brooklyn's in pole position, but also the bottom of the Eastern Conference in terms of Atlanta, Washington, Chicago, and Cleveland. How do you feel about the two conferences now having balance and the race for that championship getting much harder?
First time in ages. I don't remember the last time the East was basically on par with the West. Think about it. The Nets and the Lakers, that's legit. Lakers should be better, but that's legit. There's powerhouses. Are the Trailblazers, Clippers, and Nuggets and Mavs better than the Celtics and the Bucks And the Heat, I don't know. I don't think so. I think they're all around the same. No, I agree. There's more parity than ever before. The Western Conference still has an edge, but really not by much. News from Max Kellerman Nation. Andre just hit us up on the Dr. Pepper call line. Max Kellerman.
Coming to your mornings.
Is it over for Cam Newton? It certainly looks that way.
Greeny with Mike Greenberg. Moving to 10 Radio.
The Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker. See what Big Kendrick Perkins thinks about the Harden situation in a few minutes. I love when he comes on First Take. He's always smiling and everything, and I just know in a matter of moments I'm going to wipe that smile right off his face.
He texted me earlier. He said, man, Max better be ready. He better look out. He got some heat for you, man.
I love it. What a grumpy Santa Claus this dude is. He slid down that chimney. And someone drank his milk and ate his cookies. Ooh, he's got that face twisted up in a scowl. You can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN, 729-3776. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Celtics, the new beast of the East. The Freak had 18 points in the fourth quarter. And they were down a bunch at TD Garden on the road, but the NBA's two-time reigning MVP, and also was Defensive Player of the Year one of those seasons. All he was thinking about afterwards was a shot he didn't hit, 0.4 seconds left. What should have been a goaltend, there was a foul committed before the goaltending. And so rather than it automatically in overtime, he now has to go to the line to hit 2 free throws. By the way, it was after Tatum had hit the go-ahead 3 in his face, in the Freak's face. Very impressive that Tatum got that room that he needed to, against the Greek Freak with his length and athletic ability. That's something that Tatum was able to do that. The fact that the shot went in, don't tell me that dude called glass. He was lucky. The shot was off, it hit glass, and it went in. And but still, it was still a hell of a move even to get there, for Tatum to create the space. But, they got a little unlucky on the shot, the Bucks did, and then they got a little unlucky on the call because the foul occurred before the goaltend. So, and then the Freak got a little unlucky at the line. Hit the first one, missed the second. And then they got a little unlucky, no offensive rebound. The thing about missing a free throw is that you could recover the ball. Nope, didn't happen. So all that added up to the Celtics, by the skin of their teeth, beating the Bucks, who are integrating new players, don't forget. Like, even though Drew Holiday is a help on paper, it's not exactly the team they had last season. Whereas the Celtics are playing without guys, but it's not like, who did they have to integrate? Tristan Thompson? But that's really more on defense than offense, let's be honest. Meantime, Jaylen Brown is the revelation on the Celtics. The fact that he has elevated to, you think of the Celtics, you go, ooh, 2 nice wings that they have, young guys on the come up. But Tatum is the guy you look at, even a couple years ago, you said, that guy has the potential, the offensive game, to be the number 1 option on a championship caliber team one day. And Jaylen Brown does a lot of things nicely, but no one thing so well, you're like, yeah, he's going to be a superstar. But he might be a superstar. Like, Jaylen Brown's really good and really young and getting better. And if that can, what's better in basketball to have on your team? Even in this day and age of primary ball handlers controlling the game, like LeBron and Luka and Damian Lillard and Steph Curry and all those guys, right? Kyrie Irving. You know what's even better than that? A dominant two-way wing. To me, it is, if you're truly dominant. We don't really have one in the league right now, right? Like, who's a dominant two-way wing? You go, the closest thing is Kawhi. But Kawhi is not quite the offensive player, say, that Kobe Bryant was, right? Obviously not that Michael Jordan was. He's the closest, but he is defensively, he's right there with anyone who ever lived. But offensively, he's not quite the scorer those guys were. So we don't really have that guy in the league right now. Devin Booker on offense, whoa. If Devin Booker was like a little taller and a little more athletic, he'd be that guy. But he might be the closest thing on the offensive end. Kevin Durant. KD, right? There's a two-way wing. Just because he's 7 feet, he's a wing. What would you rather have? And by the way, LeBron's a two-way win. That thing about LeBron that makes it nuts is he does the Luka, Damian Lillard, Steph Curry thing, right? Like he orchestrate the offense, and he's a two-way wing like that. And that's why when you look at the best players, the guys you want are LeBron, KD, and if Giannis could be a little better in the playoffs, Giannis. But Giannis is really a big dressed up as a wing. Anyway, Jaylen Brown is still getting better and is still very young. What's he, 23? Got to look that up. Raj, why don't you look that up so I don't have to bring my phone too close to the computer while I'm also doing a radio show. I know you're putting your DraftKings team in, but try to. I know we got the Christmas slate coming tomorrow. After I take all your guys' money all year in DraftKings in football, I now have to rise to the occasion and beat you all in basketball too.
My man Steve Mason out in L.A. already hit me up. Hey, we got it up. So, he's ready. He's 24 years old, by the way, Jaylen Brown.
I know. Okay, 24, he should still be getting better.
He just turned 24 too, not too long ago.
Okay, I'm not saying that this stat is the best stat there is, but offensively, for non-bigs, for bigs, the PER really favors bigs because they take nothing but, especially the ones who aren't that good offensively because they take all efficient shots in the paint, right? But they can't get their own shot. They can't shoot from the outside. They're very dependent upon teammates for their offense. They're rim rollers, all that kind of stuff. But for non-bigs, PER is a very good offensive stat. It gives you a pretty good idea of how good a player is offensively. And if Jaylen Brown can become to give you an idea of what PER, league average is 15. That's an average player. You're a starter. If you have a PER of 20 or better, if you're a non-big, you're an all-star, a lot of years. 18 to 20. Anything over 20, you start to get in 25 area, you start to get into the MVP conversation. When you're close to 30, you're an MVP for sure, like in that conversation. There may be another guy who gets it instead of you, but if you're putting up as a non-big a PER of 27, 28, because we're talking about efficiency offensively, and that means how many, it's really an offensive stat. You're talking about how many possession, how valuable you are per possession to your team's offense mainly. Your true shooting percentage, your rebounds, your assists, all that kind of stuff. If Jaylen Brown becomes a 25 PER kind of player on offense, the Celtics are going to be a problem. And that's what he was last night. That's what he looked like. Hey, Giannis, what happened on that final sequence with the foul and the missed free throws?
I told you just throw the ball high. Throw it high and try to go get it. We have 0.4 seconds. Just if you don't see if Chris is not wide open, if Dante's not wide open, I think not that. Pat's not wide open. Just throw the ball high and try to go get it. Fouled him, made the first one, missed the second one. That was it.
The new look Suns, by the way, now with Chris Paul. What team got better than the Suns in the offseason? Understand, they went 8-0 in the bubble. 8-0. And they added Chris Paul and didn't really take anything away, and Jay Crowder. Now, Jay Crowder can't be expected to shoot the three like he did last year in Miami, but he can shoot the three. I used to play this game with friends and with myself because, on planes and stuff I get bored. And here's the game. You have to construct a team that really legit can compete for a championship. The rules are you cannot take a top 10 player and you have to stay under the salary cap. But you can choose anyone you want in the NBA. No one's off limits, just not a top 10 player and under the salary cap. That's very hard to create a team where you're like, yeah, I think they can win a championship. Usually you need that focal point type player to win a championship to be really, really good, right? So back then, when Paul George, a lot of people didn't consider a top 10 player. Let's say, 6 or 7 years ago, 5 years ago. I was like, I don't know, Paul George start with that. And, Nick Batum back then before he got paid. Jay Crowder was one of my dudes always. When I thought about that, I'd be like, any team that's trying to win a championship that doesn't have a superstar on the roster, go grab Jay Crowder, right? He can start, he can come off the bench, he can shoot, he can defend multiple positions. He's a really good player. He's not a lights-out three-point shooter like he was on the Heat last year, but he's good. And he's on Phoenix now. Phoenix is really good. And when you have two ball-dominant players like Chris Paul and Devin Booker, who can score at all three levels, right? Then really what you want around them, you like one other dominant offensive player, if you can, And if he could be a rim runner type guy, but not just that, not just DeAndre Jordan, like with other dimension to his game, that's ideal. If he's also a shot blocker, well, DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton's already an above-average player at his position for a starter. He's almost an all-star. If he just takes the next step to all-star, and who says that's the end of his potential? He was taking over Doncic and everybody in that draft. If DeAndre Ayton, like, that's the biggest question mark on the team, a dude who's already pretty good, or really already good and might about to be really good, and you have a point guard like Chris Paul on the team. Now, who else would you need? 3-and-D guys who do that on a real good level. Cam and Mikal Bridges. I keep forgetting. Cam Jordan, Cam Johnson, Cam. Hold on, Cam. You see what I mean, Raj?
Johnson. Cam Johnson.
Cam Johnson, yeah. Yeah, you see what I'm doing. Listen, people, it's a version of Russell Westbrook, Russell Wilson. How many times on TV do you hear someone saying Russell Wilson when they mean Russell Westbrook? Hold on. Kendrick. There it is. It's dusty in this so-called studio. Kendrick Perkins on the line on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. But Perk, after all the good things I saw from the Suns, I was more impressed with the Mavericks, who were playing without their second-best player. No matter what the Suns did defensively, I saw a Mavericks team recover and go to the next play. That means the playbook is deep. The team knows it very well. Everyone's where they're supposed to be. They have spacing. Now, they missed some shots. Luka played hero ball a little bit too much in the first half. I was very impressed with the Mavs. Tell me why I'm wrong.
You're wrong because what playbook? The playbook is everyone space out and run high pick and roll with Luka. Cleaver, you pop, and Luka, you drive. Either you got the basket or you drive and kick, or you hit the guy popping for the shot, or Luka to the low block. I mean, what playbook did you see, Max?
Because every time there's a defensive response, they have an answer to the defense. For example, the Suns on offense look much more like a talented team that doesn't have an answer every time. The Suns, when a play would break down, if they had maybe an answer, would then wind up in ISO, right? Like, go get us a bucket, someone who can score, Devin Booker or whoever. That's not the Mavs. The Mavs, boom, right back. They look like a machine to me offensively.
How? Max, how? When they a machine is when they were struggling to get buckets. They struggled to get buckets, and of course
they were missing shots.
Because Phoenix were making them miss shots, not hoping. I hope did you understand that term when I said it? It's a difference. Phoenix was on them on their heels like a pair of socks, and then on top of that, Max, when you talk about the Phoenix Suns, okay. The Suns do go ISO ball for Devin Booker because he's one of the best ISO players in the league. You said it yourself. He's the next thing to Kobe Bryant. Did you not say that?
Yep. I said it. I sure did. He is.
Okay, then. So didn't Kobe get a lot of ISOs?
He did. But there were teams like the Spurs, for example. If a play didn't work, boom, they're on to they recover immediately and go to the next thing, and everyone's where they're supposed to be, right? When you added up the talent on the Spurs, it didn't always add up to the best team in the league, but they always competed with the best if they weren't the best, and many seasons they were, because of the way they were coached. And offensively especially, I see that with the Mavs. There's a reason they were so efficient offensively last year, and Perk, this was without Porzingis. Don't you think Porzingis in a couple possession game like last night would have made a difference?
I can't say that because Phoenix was out Socrates last night. They didn't have him. And look, Max, it was the first game of the season, and I'm not going to overreact, but I will say this. You're saying that the Dallas Mavericks look like a well-oiled machine, and I just didn't see that. Offensively, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. It's not like, you got to guard the Dallas Mavericks for 24 seconds on the shot clock. Watch out for the backdoor cutting. They're running pin downs on one side while they're running a different type of action. They wasn't like the Golden State Warriors with KD, Steph, and Clay, where they was running pick-to-pick actions. They're not doing that. They're spacing the floor.
But I understand what you're saying, Perk. I get that. I think that's a valid point. What I'm saying is a lot of times when a play doesn't work, when something busts, teams get disorganized. What I saw with the Mavs was an immediate response and reorganization on offense immediately. Now, the shots weren't falling, and I do somewhat credit the Suns, right? But I'm saying with your best player out, who's a threat from everywhere in Porzingis, and where there's no size matchup really that can really stop him, I think that would have made a difference. I think we're talking about two of the better teams in a great conference. Kendrick Perkins on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. Perk, I think this. What do you think the ceiling is for these teams? What's the ceiling?
To me, I think the ceiling for both of these ball clubs is reaching a conference finals. I honestly do.
Bingo.
I honestly do. The Mavericks, I wouldn't be surprised if they reached the Western Conference Finals, and the Phoenix Suns, I wouldn't be surprised either if they was to reach the Western Conference Finals. Now, am I picking them to do that? No, but I wouldn't be surprised if they got there.
Right, same. And I might be picking the Mavericks. I got to see how Porzingis looks when he gets back. I think I am picking the Mavericks to get to the Western Conference Finals. But I think you could say that about a lot of teams in the West. I think you could say that about the Lakers are going to be there. So you got one slot open. Could it be the Clippers? To me, the answer is yes. The answer is yes on the Blazers. The answer is yes on the Nuggets. The answer is yes on the Mavs. The answer is yes on Phoenix. That's 5 different teams, Perk, I think could be there. And, New Orleans is looks like they're farther away. But Zion, you were sleeping on Zion today on First Take. Zion is a baby, and he already was kind of unstoppable looking when he was healthy last year.
How was I sleeping on him? Just because I said I don't agree that I don't see him being the best player in the league, that don't mean that I'm sleeping on him. I see him possibly, being an all-star, for the rest of his career probably, because he's box office and must-see TV, because he's a highlight reel, but that don't necessarily say that he's about to be a LeBron James type player. Well, we could say that he's the best.
No, not LeBron.
You said what now?
Not LeBron, but he can be something we've never seen before.
I know,
put it this way. Charles Barkley was not the best player in the NBA, but he wasn't far away from being the best player in the NBA. And I think Zion is physically more capable than Barkley was.
But Max, you can't get caught up in just because Zion have a whack body. See, when I was in the league, we called bodies like Zion a whack body. No matter how hard you try to get ripped up and get in shape, you just could never turn the corner. Like, I had a whack body. Paul Pierce had a whack body. He has a whack body. And just because because he looks like a linebacker, you just want to pick him and say, oh, he's something we never seen before. You damn right. I get it, right? He's 6'5". He's super athletic. He got a stocky build. He don't look like a hooper, but he gets the job done. That don't mean you put him in a category. But
Perk,
Mike,
let me ask you something, Perk. Perk, are you sure that's what whack body meant? Or did you overhear a teammate say that about you, and then they said, no, Perk, that just means that we could whack you and everything's all right?
No, that's not what that meant. But what I'm saying is, Max, we can't just put them in that conversation, because right now they got a lot of rising stars around the same age as Zion that's going to be around the league for a very long time that could possibly be the face. Look, you just got to name them. Matter of fact, Luka could be the best player in the league for a long period of time. That's why Ja Morant, this is a guard-driven league.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing about Luka. Luka can get better. And by the way, I have a whack body too. It used to be a fresh body when I was young, but it's whack now. But I just want to say, Luka could get better. His three-point shooting can get better. I think his decision-making could still get better, and he could obviously improve on defense. But Zion is already an all-star player without a lot of the skills that Luka has, but I wouldn't rule it out that he could develop those skills. Zion is a willing passer. Zion has wiggle to his game at his size and handles for a dude of his weight, right? Zion has the ability, it looks like to me, to develop into a guy who can really shoot. Even though he's big and usually those guys don't have touch. I'm just saying he is where he is right now on his athletic ability, which to me gives him more room for upside as he refines his skills still, and he's so young. This dude is something else. Kendrick Perkins, Are you sure that's what whack body means? I need to circle back to that for 1 second, because where I'm from, that means something different.
No, I'm telling you, in the NBA terms, whack body means that you could be in shape, but you just could never get ripped up like, a Kevin Garnett or Porzingis or LeBron James. Like, for example, Jokic, he has a whack body. He lost a lot of weight.
He does. I see that.
He lost a lot of weight, but he never could get chiseled up, Max. That don't mean he's not in shape. You see what I'm saying? Some people just can't.
I do see what you're saying, Perk. I think that you can say you have a whack body. 3776, the Max Kellerman Show, presented by Progressive Insurance.
Vikings at Saints.
Yes, this is the NFL whip around. It's good, Raj, if you had something saying NFL whip around.
The NFL whip around by Max Kellerman.
No, there you go. Saints are going to beat the Vikings. First of all, the Saints have lost 2 in a row, but events conspired, circumstances conspired to create that situation. They were playing an Eagles team that looked like they were dead in the water. Even I didn't understand how bad Carson Wentz was. Jalen Hurts takes over, and the Eagles are back, right? And so, look, it happens. And then against the Chiefs, you're playing the best team in football, the defending Super Bowl champions. You don't have Michael Thomas, and you're just coming back from all the fractured ribs and the lungs and everything. But against the Vikings, even on short rest, a team I don't have any confidence in, I think the Saints will be super motivated to get back to their winning ways, and I think they do.
Titans and Packers.
Especially at home, the Saints. See what I did, Raj? I let it bleed over into this one. Packers are going to beat the Titans. The Titans are a good team, but the Titans and the Colts and the Browns are all teams, to one degree or another, that you just don't believe in at a Super Bowl level, right? You just don't think they can win a Super Bowl. They can win a playoff game. And they're all about evenly matched. Titans, Colts, Browns. Of those 3, I like the Titans the best because I most believe in Tannehill compared to Baker Mayfield or Phillip Rivers at this point in his career. But I don't believe in Tannehill or even and the run game. They get great run blocking. They have Derrick Henry the way I believe in Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers right now, if the season ended today, would be the MVP of the league. And I have to believe at home he will be too much, particularly with his receivers right now. He's going to be too much for the Titans. And the Packers' defense has come along as the season has progressed. The Packers are going to beat the Titans. I'm taking the Saints at home. I'm taking the Packers.
Colts and Steelers.
The Steelers, however, even though they seem to be in free fall, and I don't think they're as bad as everyone thinks they are, this is a bad matchup for them. This is the Colts can play some defense. And given the offensive problems on the Steelers right now, I really do think that the AFC North will come down to the final game of the season, or at least week 17, Steelers-Browns. And that is because I think the Colts beat the Steelers. The Steelers are not playing well right now. The Colts are. And furthermore, though they both have ancient quarterbacks from the same class, by the way, right? Rivers and Roethlisberger. And by the way, I think if you asked most people who was the best quarterback out of the Eli, Roethlisberger, Rivers class, Eli went first, Rivers went fourth, and Roethlisberger went 9th or 10th, I want to say. And I would say Roethlisberger, probably most people would say. And at this moment in their careers, I think I'd still take Roethlisberger over Rivers, as bad as Roethlisberger's looked recently. But the Colts beat the Steelers. The defense is playing well, and the Steelers offense.
Giants and Ravens.
Okay. I'm forced to take the upset here because my Giants cannot get to the playoffs if they lose to the Ravens. And I'm going to say Daniel Jones is going to come and play, and his mobility will be better than it was against Arizona. And the Giants' defense is going to home in on Lamar Jackson, and somehow, against all odds, the Giants go on the road and upset the Ravens to set up a last-week showdown against the Cowboys for the NFC East crown. I think it'll come down to the Giants beating the Cowboys, and need a little help from Washington, because if they finish with the same record as the Giants own the tiebreaker, beat the Washington franchise twice.
Max, they're double-digit underdogs. You sure you wouldn't do this on national radio?
I'm doing it on national radio. I have faith in my G-men, in Big Blue. I'm not going to abandon them. Now, if Daniel Jones doesn't play, that's a different story. But I'm banking on Daniel Jones playing and playing well.
Eagles at Cowboys.
Let me tell you something. The Cowboys, every time you leave them for dead, they pop up a little bit and they go, not in this NFC East, you can't leave them for dead. But I got to tell you that Doug Peterson, I said get rid of Peterson, get rid of everyone on the Eagles associated with this mess that the team has become, starting with Carson Wentz if you can, because he has a very hard contract to trade. Get rid of Howie Roseman, the GM, get rid of Doug Peterson, the coach. Because Peterson was coaching in such a way that told me he wanted to get out of there, right? But no, he was just frustrated with Wentz, I think. No, Peterson's a hell of a coach. Look at that. Look what the team looks like when anyone but Carson Wentz is the quarterback. I think the Eagles are a much better team than we gave them credit for, and Doug Peterson's a much better coach. And as soon as you have a competent quarterback in there, look what happened. They beat the Saints, the hottest defense in the league. They followed it up with a good performance against a solid team. I think they beat the Cowboys on the road.
Buccaneers at Lions.
The Bucs are a very good team. And, look, I would say don't get fooled by the fact that they fell down to the Falcons. They wouldn't be the first time that Tom Brady did it or that a team this year has fallen down to the Falcons and come back on them. I know they're going on the road. I don't think much of the Detroit Lions. And the Bucs really have everything a team needs to be a successful playoff team. It's the reason I think Tom Brady is heading for an 11-win season when I would have guessed 10 before the season started. But, I think he's a game better than I thought he'd be and 2 games better than some thought he'd be. He's used his weapons well. He has a lot of them, and he has talent on the defense. The Lions are not a good team. The Bucs.
Dolphins at Raiders.
It's funny, Dolphins were my sleeper pick, and the Raiders were Stephen A's sleeper pick on First Take. And the Raiders are no longer, I think, a sleeper pick, obviously. Well, they can't be. But I still have this feeling about the Dolphins and Flores and Tua. If you look at the schedule and look at the records, the Dolphins shouldn't make the playoffs. I think somehow they will. And I think they beat the Raiders on the road. The Dolphins have a nice quarterback in Tua already. I think he's going to be special still. And they have a real hungry defense that gets after it and a good coach. Dolphins over Raiders on the road. That's it. There's a whip around. I whipped it right around. Did you see the look on Raj, my producer in L.A.? We're on a Zoom, so I have a computer in front of me if you're watching on ESPN Plus. I'm in New York. It's COVID. Everything's remote, and Raj is in L.A. And when the whistle blows and we're on to the next game, and then I circle back to the previous game because I still have something to say, you look like you found something you didn't like.
Yeah, man, I'm about to throw a flag. That's a false start. False start. That's not how the game's supposed to be played.
888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Final last take. The Kellerman Show on the ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker. You can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by
First Take? At least it's good to hear your voice finally, because I know on First Take, I only hear you on the intro and outro.
Now hear Max's last take.
I did an NFL whip around, and I said I was going to take some calls, and I might. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776, a Dr. Pepper call-in line. But I got to go over our slate tomorrow. I realize I'd be remiss if I did not go over our NBA slate tomorrow because this is, ESPN, this is, or really all of Christmas, is an amazing Christmas Day slate of NBA games. It's an amazing Christmas Day slate. I can't remember a slate of games better than this. Think about what's at stake. Nets Celtics. What did you already see from KD? Oh, my God, he's back. This is a real thing. He already looks like 80% of himself. Day one at least, right? Nets are going to the finals. But then you look at the Celtics, you go, hold up, they beat the Bucks. They're the divisional favorites, like statistically, by the odds, the analytics. They beat the Bucks day one. Jaylen Brown is a two-way stud. I mean, we already knew he was trending in that direction, but he looks like he's arrived there. No Kemba, no Gordon Hayward anymore. No problem? Whoa. Nets Celtics is such a great matchup. Easily could be the Eastern Conference Finals. Pelicans Heat. You know who the Pelicans have on that roster now? In the backcourt, Lonzo and Bledsoe. Like, is either one perfect? No, but they can both do a lot of things. Steven Adams is on that team now at the 5. Redick, shoot, like you need some shoot. Well, if you have Adams and you have Bledsoe and Lonzo and Zion, right, you're going to need some shooting. Actually, Brandon Ingram can shoot it among the many things he can do nowadays. But how's J.J. Redick? You think he can shoot it? Pelicans are an interesting team, and obviously, you know the Heat are. He could easily wind up back in the finals. Like, it could easily happen. That is a deep team with ascending stars. Like, you think Jimmy Butler, and okay, they're somewhat limited because Butler's not quite an MVP, and he's their best player, but Bam is getting better every year, and so is Tyler Hero. Warriors at Bucks. Now, I don't think the Warriors shoot it well enough, but they do have a lot of athletes on that team. I mean, you get the 5, Wiseman. You have the second pick in the draft with a very high floor for a big. And isn't that funny? Nowadays, that means like, because bigs don't really have high ceilings, right? But with a very high floor for a big. And which is crazy in a sport that selects out for height. And Wiggins, a former number 1 pick, and those aren't their best players, right? Steph Curry. Like, and for obviously the Bucks, like the Bucks are supposed to be the beasts of the East. I don't know. Drew Holiday is a nice pickup, but he's not a superstar, even though he plays great in the playoffs. He's not a superstar, and he's not a great shooter. You know, and if Brook Lopez's downward slide in terms of his three-point shooting continues, now what are you talking about? Where are you making that up? DiVincenzo? Boy, he better take a step forward because Middleton showed you he's not enough with the freak. Meantime, Mavs at Lakers. I think if someone had to say, okay, just drop all the BS. If everyone's healthy, what's the Western Conference Finals? Mavs-Lakers. Mavs at Lakers, right? Lakers will have home court, and Mavs will be I thought the Mavs were clearly better than the Clippers until Porzingis got hurt. And remember, when Nuggets came back on the Clippers, they had to come all the way back. It was a 7-game series. Now, I don't think they would have done that to the Mavs. Like, Jamal Murray and Jokic are a problem. Is Jamal Murray as good as Luka? Jokic may be better than Porzingis, but if Porzingis, like, this is what I'm saying about Porzingis. People sleep. Porzingis, no one thinks of him as an MVP caliber player. Just imagine Porzingis is fully healthy and he continues going up because that's the direction he's heading. Are we sure Jokic is better than that? Porzingis is like half a foot taller than Jokic. He's 7'3", people. I love Mavs at Lakers. You got it. It's a great matchup. And he's not available now at this point in the season, but that's a great matchup. And Clippers Nuggets in a rematch. That's a tremendous Christmas slate considering the season just started. Just started and all Christmas. Nets Celtics, Zion at Heat, Steph at Giannis, Luka at LeBron, and Kawhi at Jokic and Murray. Ooh. All day. You can ignore the kids on Christmas. It's great. Ignore the whole family. Just watch sports. And if they want to have a relationship with you, they can also learn how to watch sports. That's where I stand.